Yo, 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 what is up? What is up, YouTube, gaming family, boxing family? Let's get right here. I'm back with another good video for you guys today. I want to definitely talk about, some boxing, content discussions. And, yeah, let's get right into it, man. I'm definitely going to be talking about Bud Crawford, the whole situation with him ducking Errol Spence and taking the route to go with Black Prime. And I guess to get everything out but the way, um, let me just like address something about Blue Blood Sports TV. I got no beef with Blue Blood, but I am a bit disappointed with how you try to use up the narrative to act like Errol Spence and Terence Crawford was still going to happen, but he tried to use it in a sense to pretend as if Terence Crawford wasn't like avoiding Errol Spence when clearly this fight wasn't supposed to be made between him and David Evanesian. And to my point of view, it definitely looks like he was at the one that had vested interest in protecting Terence Crawford as a valuable asset because he was working with Black Prime. For those of you that didn't know, I don't care too much about Black Prime TV. They're not that valuable of a company. They made over like what $5 million in revenue, but these weirdos at Black Prime TV think that they're going to promote a fight within less than a month and a half away, or if not 2 months. In which, I mean, I don't know how the hell they're gonna get $10 million, together. They say that, oh well, they're gonna get like an investment group. Okay, that's fine. But here's not the problem. How the fuck are you gonna break even? If you're not gonna break even in this particular situation, then here's like my problem with like what Blue is doing. He's either doing damage control for the sake of keeping the fight like drifted in a different direction, but between Spence and Crawford, and he's still acting like the fight's going to happen when when we all know that Crawford and Spence is probably never going to happen. And I don't think the fight's going to happen. Like, I think that this fight is dead enough to the point where Crawford wasted Errol Spence's time for six months heading into 7, and it's pretty disrespectful to the boxing fans that wanted this fight. And I'm not gonna put the blame on Blue because that's not his fault. Like but the fault was that he tried switching the narrative to act like we weren't thinking that Crawford didn't want this fight, and he basically avoided Spence, and he tried to make it seem like Crawford is only fighting David Avanesian because Errol Spence couldn't come to the table, blah blah blah. But like, honestly, at the end of the day, we already know like what the situation is between PBC and Terence Crawford. Like, PBC is doing their best to try to make the fight, but it's not just PBC. Like, Showtime and Fox and all the financial handlers, they're coming together to try to make the fight. See, now, you may think I'm being biased or I'm not giving anybody, the benefit of the doubt, but you can't say that these guys with like suits and ties are the reason why, that the fight can't be made, because that's not fucking true. I don't, really trust people like that on YouTube to begin with, but if these people try to act like they got all the information in the world to share, but they don't know, what's going on behind closed doors, then how the fuck can you be like, talking? Like, you can't be talking in the first place. And I don't give a shit who fucking watches this live stream. I'm just going to keep it clear. Like, I don't trust people that blatantly lie just to promote their end of the political goal of trying to fool audiences to make them think that people don't catch their bullshit. But by all means, credit to Blue Blood. He wants to get his money. He wants to have his little partnership last with Black Prime TV, in which they're not that wealthy of a company. Like they've only made $5 million in total net worth ever since they created themselves as a platform. And last time I checked, they were promoting Street Beast fights, in which Street Beast they're like a big YouTube channel. Credit to Street Beast, but at the end of the day, Street Beast is not a they're not like a mega platform that's going to expand out to other platforms. Like Street Beast is good for what it is for having YouTube fights. However, like however many fights that Scarface and them, be promoting, like which is fine. But at the end of the day, I don't think Black Prime is the right network to come together with two fighters like Crawford and Avanesian to be posting this fight for a $40 pay-per-view that no one's going to give a shit to buy. And then on top of that, you're wasting people's time and efforts to even want to see this fight. So I mean, personally for me, like my thoughts is that Crawford basically wasted everybody's time. And then on top of that, you know I'm not gonna get into like the whole situation where Crawford and Blue Blood they were talking, but for Crawford to pretend as if like Spence is like the reason why this fight didn't happen, and there's no like backfiring going up against Crawford, just shows how much of a mentally retarded idiot he is. Because you cannot tell me that Crawford does not have any accountability held up against him. People want to just blame it on Spence and say, "Oh man, you like it's EJ's fault, man. Errol, Errol Spence wanted too many demands, man. Errol Spence is a shitty businessman. Him and Hal Heyman and the PBC, they're just effing like around and just screwing people over. How the fuck can anybody be screwing anybody over when PBC's model is for what it is? You get what you get off of at the front end, and then you build everything else off of at the back end. See, now I don't care regardless of like what anybody says, but it's just like when PBC comes to the table, they're there to give you what you are worth. So with Errol Spence being the bigger draw between Bud and EJ will be bringing in more money, because if he fought the higher tier opponents to build up his name and build up his resume, he would definitely have like a much bigger following, because it makes only sense to pay somebody a lot of money because he or she has been fighting the tougher level names, so therefore the market draw will go to that fighter. This is basic economics 101. But for people to say, nah, man, you just got to pay that man. Like, you just got to pay Bud. You got to pay, this person this X amount of money just to make, just to make that fight happen, man. What? No. Like, that's not how fucking business fucking works. Like, I mean, like, no wonder why this fight never got made, because motherfuckers like that prevented this fight from getting made. And I mean, by any means necessary, like, I want to say Spence was trying to be more open to the negotiations to try to make this fight doable, but Crawford, like time and time again, when we seen Crawford try to come to the table in big fights, like a Danny Garcia, like a Keith Thurman, like a Adrian Broner, all these guys that he should have had on his resume, he decided to just back out like a bitch, man. But then on top of that, I'll even, rewind it back to the past when he said, he'll never fight Sean Porter because him and Porter are friends, blah, blah, blah. And this is when Porter had won the WBC title vacancy belt over Danny Garcia. But still, that fight pretty much proved like Crawford don't want to fight people that are in their absolute primes. And I mean, by all means necessary, like, I mean, that's perfectly fine if you don't want to fight somebody, that's your friend, but don't call yourself, like the best. If you and your friend are in the same division, or you have you have a massive potential to fight him or her, because you try to claim to say that you're not going to fight like your friend, in a good, massive, big money fight, but then, basically turn back like around and then fight them to a point where you got forced into it, and then you just pretend as if like people were going to continue basically giving hype to like a fighter that should have been whatchamacallit that should have been fought you in their prime to begin with. So I mean, either way, like, Crawford's career is basically over. I never thought of Crawford to be that good of a fighter to begin with. I think the biggest issue with Crawford is that he's never put himself in a good position to begin with because he never wanted to fight any of the high quality, like opponents. And people may think that's bullshit because Crawford had fought this guy and that guy, but then when you look at the resume of these guys, like he's fighting guys that are coming off of horrible performances, if not just lackluster performances. I mean, at least with Spence, he fought like opponents coming off of good wins or great performances, but at least he fought them. At least he fought somebody that had some clarity in the division, i.e., fighting a contemporary in your division that has beef with you, or fighting people that should be notable in your division. And that should give you more, respect in your division. But unfortunately, people don't want to give Spence, the credit of like what he deserved, and I just find it to be rude, man. Because EJ, he's a good fighter, and I don't ever see EJ lying to his own audience. And I mean, if people want to say, "Oh, nah, man, EJ hasn't done shit for boxing," blah blah blah. But look at like the accomplishments that he went through versus what Bud went through. Bud never went through a very difficult division like the welterweight division compared to like the lightweight division and 140 at those time frames. He never unified at 140, in which he could have fought Omar Figueroa when he was like a champion at that time frame after he beat Ricky Burns. But it's just like, I don't really need to explain like myself too much. Like, I think it's already clear as day to show that Crawford, he's a coward, and I just, I don't really have that much to really say anything good about him. As far as like the whole situation with Blue Blood, like I don't have any issue with them. It's just that I just didn't like the fact that he tried moving like the goalposts or switching it up to pretend as if Spence and Crawford is still gonna happen, but then he tried, making up like some weird narratives that just didn't add up, and that was basically it. Like, I mean, if people want to say that's disrespectful, but at the end of the day, it's really not. Like, I don't see that to be disrespectful when, when you call something out that should be, called out for. So, I will say what was wrong with like, my, personal, or like with my initial perception of this fight uh, not being made due to Blue Blood's reporting was that I basically just blamed Blue Blood for like, the sake of not really looking into like, the information properly, and then I thought, that was basically his fault of kind of like making this fight look like that Crawford, wanted this fight, and he basically made up all these weird excuses, in which he did. But I basically just kind of like used Blue Blood for no reason, just to blame him, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was my fault. But I will say, like, the only thing that he was really ever viable of, being held, I guess, to an accountability standard was that he just kind of just said some weird narratives that didn't make any sense, and that was like my only issue that I had. But other than that, it's cool. Like, I don't hate Blue Blood. Like, I've liked Blue Blood for quite a long time, so I don't ever think his news reporting is like very super inaccurate. So he usually ends up covering boxing content pretty well. So I think Blue Blood does a very good job with what he covers. I just didn't like agree with the whole like narratives that he had between Crawford and Spence, and then he tried to make it seem like Crawford and his team wanted this fight, and Errol Spence didn't want the fight, and I was just really confused because it's like, Errol Spence has been, aggressively vocal on wanting this, on wanting this fight being made, and I wasn't really thinking of, Errol Spence to make any excuses per se of not having this fight made between him and Crawford, and I don't know, like if Blue Blood was making up narratives to say that, Spence never wanted to fight Crawford for the sake of, him just basically just wanted to outprice himself, which, that wasn't true. But, with Crawford's case, Crawford, he tried to make it seem like for Crawford's end that Crawford wanted to fight Spence, and I just didn't really believe that because, that wasn't to be true because Crawford he was showing a lot more excuses rather than being being how should I say demanding with his actions. But either way, man, I don't really have too much else left to say. I think that's pretty much what I have to say about this stupid business that Crawford had tried to put down on on I guess like using Blue Blood as a front, and then I got fooled into thinking that it was Blue Blood's fault. So yeah, either way, that was my fault. I wasn't looking into like the data properly, but I can easily tell that a lot of people are kind of looking at that now as like a scapegoat, against Blue Blood, and I can understand why that was like a massive um like that was like a massive error that people including myself would blame it on Blue Blood for trying to act like he was like colluding with Terence Crawford in a certain way, which that wasn't true. But either way, Blue Blood, he's doing his thing. He's making his money, and like I'm not like against it. Like go for it. It's just that the whole narrative issue, that was like my biggest problem that I had because it was just like when he switched up on certain narratives that didn't make any sense, and of course, people will say certain things, against you because it didn't make any sense to begin with of like what he was, promoting out of what the certain videos that you watch, out of his channel. But either way, that's pretty much it. I don't have too much to really say. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think Terrence Crawford is justified in what he did, or do you think he's completely unjustified in what he did? Against Errol Spence, fighting David Avanesian for this whole $10 million whatever BS. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I'll see you guys later. Peace out, and shout out to the mighty LDBC and TWT. All right, I'll see you guys later, and peace out.